Mr. Barak, it is well known that Iran's involvement is a key factor in this issue. Have there been any discussions with Iran, whether through Saudi officials, US officials, or other allies regarding Hezbollah arms?
Look, I think it's a public fact that, of course, there's been endless discussions with Iran on all facts, starting with Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, nuclear proliferation, all of those facts, and they're still in existence, going on in real time. Does that affect Lebanon? Of course it affects Lebanon. Hezbollah is a major component of the Lebanese structure. What happens with Iran, what happens with negotiations with Iran, and possible or potential peace treaties on all sides would have an effect, for sure.
And is there any pessimistic or optimistic things?
Look, I'm always optimistic.
It's good.
Diplomacy is the last door before boots on the ground. This president, my boss, has made it very clear that he's a peace and prosperity president, that he will take every act before boots on the ground, and that's exactly what's happening in Iran. So I'm hopeful.
Mr. Barak, you have just succeeded in reaching a solution in regards to the latest events in Al-Suwaidah. Do you think that your efforts here in Lebanon will reach positive conclusions similar to what you have achieved in Syria?
What happened in Syria was a consequence of what could happen anywhere, a misunderstanding of two tribes. In the midst of that, a new nascent government, which is not Lebanon's problem. You have an established and well-functioning government. You have a sectarian regime that makes sense. The believability in what was there in the Syrian government was still being tested.
Yeah.
We just intervened. We intervened like we're intervening here in Lebanon and saying the same thing. Everybody, do you want our help? Then get real. Calm down. Let's figure out how we can help. Let's have discussions and dialogue rather than these horrible, unbelievable acts that are taking at a base level of tribes. It's the same thing. The U.S. is not using its power, its military force, its economic force. We'll use sanctioned force when things go wrong. Counterterrorism is another major problem. As you know, Hezbollah is a foreign terrorist organization in America. The counter-terrorist fact of that is another major interest. But there's no difference of what's happening between Syria and Lebanon, and both are interconnected to why we're so concerned with bringing regional stability here. And our focus is Lebanon and it's Syria.
Mr. Barak, what are the economic reforms that Lebanon has to do?
I think they've stated a set of economic reforms that we think are the key fundamentals to an economic recovery, starting with a Bank Resolution Act, which I think today a subcommittee is approved or is in the process of approving, which is a tremendous step forward. On the heels of that, there'll be a gap agreement, which is an allocation of how do the losses that incurred over the last 7 to 10 years get allocated among shareholders, depositors, and the government. A Justice Act, a Secrecy Act, a customs regeneration of how is VAT and revenues collected, along with a focus on what happens to state-owned enterprises, electricity, water, power, the airport, all revenue increasing entities. But the primary thing is how do they get smart people like all of you back home, which is the competitive advantage in the region. You can have beautiful buildings in Dubai, you can have an incredible Vision 2030 program in Saudi Arabia. All those things are plottable and important, and mostly everybody uses Lebanese people to develop them, to build them, to get there, so we need to bring them home.